Howdy folks, and welcome back to another episode of making a Fakemon region. Last 3 episodes, I've been making the 3 starters, Cuptis the grass starter, Pipe Up the fire one, and Confuzzle the water starter. How fun. If you want to see those 3 starters, feel free to check those videos out. I put a lot of effort into the stories behind them and the efforts into the design, so I hope you enjoy it if you do. Either way though, in most types of these Fakemon videos, what happens after the 3 starters is usually the common early bird types and the early normal types. Bird type? Flying types. Now, in each Pokemon game, there's usually a typical tradition on how the first, 20 Pokemon in that Pokedex goes. Of course, the first 9 are for the starters, except Black and White for some reason, but then after the 3 starters, it's usually the early bug types, normal types, and flying types. Not usually in that order, but you get what I mean. These designs are usually meant to be simpler than the others, and I guess set a tone for the rest of the region, right? Let's take the first ever bird and rodent Pokemon, Rattata and Pidgey, for example. Since this was the first game, there wasn't exactly a precedent of an RPG where you get to capture the monsters. This was one of the first of its kind. So I had to portray regular RPG monsters, so evil birds and rats, and give you the ability to catch them. And then you go into the rustling, bustling cities of Black and White, and you see the first bird and rodent being Pidove, a pigeon, and Patrat, again another rat, but with a more police officer patrolling the roads kind of aesthetic, and pigeons because, well, pigeons are going to be in cities living off of humans. And again, it sets the tone for the rest of the region because, well, it's based on Central America, I think. I don't know, I've never been Black and White, but still, it doesn't always set a precedent for the region. Sometimes it is literally just random rodent and random bird, but, But anyway, in this episode, we're going to go over this region's early bird and rodent. Although not the early rodent, but a early rodent. I'll get onto that later. I also wanted to think about the region itself, because obviously, wherever the player starts, the starting town will obviously determine what first route it goes on to. So, in this region, I always like the idea of it starting in a mining town. I like the idea that instead of it being an early forest, what again is an archetype in most Pokemon games, I like the idea of it instead being an early cave or something. Just something to change it up a bit. So because of that, these 2 Fakemon are inspired by mining and coal. Sounds fun? Hopefully. So let's start with the first bird, Minimin. Now, I don't have a speed drawing of Minimin, so I'll just quickly explain the point of Minimin and then we'll get onto its evolutions. So Minimin. Minimin's based on the noisy miner, a bird that when I first saw I thought was so adorable I had to make a cute little bird Pokemon out of it. And since at this point I already had the idea that the first town would have been a mining town, it just seemed fitting to have a bird called the noisy miner. And I love the idea of a woodpecker but instead mining, a mining woodpecker, if that makes like a pickaxe with its beak, right? Right? I thought that was a really cute thing. So I like to think Minimin has a really soft beak, but it tries to harden it up by pecking its seeds and then moving its way up to rocks, stones, and making its way up to... It's training its beak to mine, basically, right? It's got little green parts on it. Not just inspired by the noisy miner, but I like the idea that, it's a glow-in-the-dark bird, because those safety straps what glow in the dark? Well, it lives in caves, so it's to let its parents know where it is if it gets lost. And since it is just a giant ball, it rolls around like little boulders through a cave. I thought that was cute. And that's pretty much what Minimin is. Minimin meaning mini miner, Minimin, right? That's its name. But now the cute baby phase is over, it's time to get to work. So Minimin's second evolution, called Delimin, what stands for Diligent Miner this time, he's not Mini anymore, is just that. I like the idea that, he's trying to impress his parents by, going into the mining industry. He's so excited to do his parents' work, and I guess I like to think that, he takes everything too seriously, he's way above it. All the baby Minimins just like to play, but he's so above that now, he needs to work hard, and sometimes even too hard. I like to think his beak isn't strong enough yet to start mining, but I like to think he starts... he can still mine, just not through the earth itself. I like to think he carves his own stone tools to help him mine. I say tools, it's just a rock stick, basically. Because I like the idea that the silhouette also makes his beak look like an actual pickaxe. I also wanted to move away from just the mini miner as inspiration for this bird. Not mini miner, noisy miner, sorry. Because, well, if we're combining it with the idea of a woodpecker anyway, why not throw some more birds into the mix? But not use any specific birds in general, but just more of a general bird aesthetic, if that makes sense, right? I gave it some head plumage because I saw some fun birds that look like that. I didn't want to go too specific because I feel like most early bird Pokemon, other than a very select few, do tend to be just kind of general birds. I mean, I'm sure they are inspired by actual birds, but I feel like their design does bring in this just a natural bird, what has qualities inspired by other birds, if that makes sense, right? Feel free to call me out and call me stupid if none of this is making sense. But anyway, yeah, this is Delimin, the second stage to Minimin. There's not much to say about them really, because it is just a simple early bird Fakemon, or Sidlemon, whatever I'm calling them. After doing the 3 starter lines, what I had a lot more effort into their stories of what, having reasons why they evolved into what they did and the stories behind them, I realised that some of these designs can just be simple birds. You know what I mean? Just keep it cool. But either way, let's check out the final evolution, IndieMin, what stands for Industry. So sorry about that, don't know what came over me. And I guess kind of independent, like indie, because, well, it's a giant bird what can support on its own now, but I don't feel like that's as strong a connection, because I like the idea, it's a family man or woman, they help each other out. So now IndieMin is big enough that he doesn't need a metal tool to start mining, he can use his own beak. I like they did that over time, he trains it by mining using his own beak so much that the end of the beak turns into stone just because of all the, rubble, the dirt, the mud, all dries up on his beak, what makes it into like a stone-tipped beak, if that makes sense, right? And the same happens to his wings. I was kind of struggling on what shape to give his wings, but like that idea, if I just make them giant flappers, but at the tips of them, all the mud, the dust, all the stone, again, solidifies on the tips of his wings, will essentially give like these claws. Like these are now specifically for use, like he essentially uses them as his own hands now to claw out any empty rubble and for defending himself. Because, well, realistically, he's not going to use them to fly, he's a miner now, which makes me wonder what his type will be, because the first 2 will just be like, I guess, flying. But I don't know if I want to make this one like rock and ground instead of a flying type at all. Because even though it is an early bird Pokemon, it is still a bird, it's just not a flying type. But I don't know if I want to break that mold or not yet. I don't know. Maybe just rock and fly might be better, because it still technically could use some flying type moves like peck and wing attack, maybe, I guess? I don't know. I also gave him a cute little mining hat, what he carves out of stone himself. And there is another Fakemon what I've got, what I'm not going to show you yet, I'll save that for another episode. Well, his gimmick was, he also had a little headlight, but he made the light out of this luminescent fungus or mold what he found in the caves. And since this is also a miner Pokemon, I thought, let's have a cute little connection where they both use the same type of mold. I also give them a bright white stripe, because again, it's just kind of safety protocol in regular miners or like workers, just like a glow-in-the-dark thing. It reflects light so others can see them well in the dark. And yeah, so that's the Minimin line. Minimin, Delimin, and IndieMin. I kind of wanted to go for like a Pidgeotto, Pidgeot kind of name style to it. I hope you like them. I like the kind of simplicity behind them, how it is literally just mining bird instead of bully jellyfish turning into a witch sort of thing, It's simple, it's an early bird root. An early root bird, I should say. And again, I like the idea that this sets the tone for the rest of the region. It's going to be a little bit weird, it's going to be things what you might not expect at first glance. I mean, would you expect a bird to end up being a miner for a first root? If you did, well, I mean, fair enough, but I hope you get the gist of it either way. Now let's go on to the other Pokemon, the kinda early rodent Pokemon, Fakemon thing. This is Charbon. A mix between charcoal, carbon, which is what coal is, bunny, bun, and carbon is French for coal. Or is it charbon? I wouldn't know. Like every other French word, I'm probably mispronouncing it immensely wrong. Now, although Charbon isn't the early root rodent, it is a early root rodent. The actual early root rodent goes to Rubine, but since Rubine's got a special little gimmick, I'm going to save him for his own episode, which is going to be next week sometime, I think, so if you want to see that, subscribe. Or don't, just if you Google like Fakemon Rubine or something, you'll probably find it next week anyway, so do what you want to do. I hope you like it regardless. But anyway, so Charbon is meant to be this coal rabbit, basically. That's why he looks a little bit rigid, a little bit rocky, because, well, it's a dust bunny. You get it? Because dust, coal bunny, forget about it. Again, I don't have a speed drawing of him, so I'll quickly explain and then I'll show off his evolution. The point of Charbon is that it was an invasive species to this region. It didn't originate here. It came from la French, or like I guess the cartoon equivalent to French in this Fakemon world, right? In that French place, they were pristine, beautifully white diamonds, if you will, which is also carbon. But however, since they were brought into this town, and due to the industrial coaling mine industry, over the years, in this region, they turned into a dirty black. They also annoy miners, including IndieMins, as they nibble through mining equipment, they chew on expensive ores. Like, imagine how you'd imagine rabbits stealing vegetables from a farmer. Well, they steal important ores and minerals from miners. I also like to think their burrows have really weird shapes, what look like the carbon sign thing. I thought that'd be cute. Now, I struggled a lot on Carbon's evolution, because I didn't know whether or not I wanted to make it a triple evolution, in the sense of it just gets more carbons on it, because, well, I guess I wanted to have an idea of they want to turn back into diamonds, and well, since coal and diamonds are both made of carbon, but diamond is under a lot of pressure, I like the idea that they all pile on top of each other to crush the bottom one into a diamond carbon. But I realised, that sounds a bit too complicated for just anything really. So I decided to go into the other way, where I realised, since they were imported from this up and fancy, because, well, I guess genetically speaking, they are still the same as their French counterparts, all clean and pristine. They're just all dirty and dusty. So I like the idea that its evolution represents that, where it should be all clean and fancy, but instead it's all dirty and messy. So that's the route I went down. I also wanted to inspire it by old European stories, like this one specifically, kind of like Jack and the Beanstalk. One where, a dirty child and again his dirty mother, both living in poverty, and they're all dirty, and one's just fooling around and messing about whilst the mother's always nagging at him, telling him to clean up. And since they're French, my first idea was, a French maid. But then I googled French maid and I was a little bit like, oh my. And then instead I decided to Google rabbit maid, which again, I was like, oh my. So I kind of went a little less down that road, but still, you can tell that, they want to be clean and they're nagging at the other child ones to get clean, even though it's not necessarily working, clearly. I was also slightly worried because they are two pre-existing rabbit Pokemon, the previously mentioned Bunnelby and the Lopunny, and I feel like both of them have their own beef with the fan community. A lot of people don't like Lopunny's design because it appears overly sexualized and it appears to be inspired by Playboy, and a lot of people don't like Bunnelby's evolution, Diggersby, because again it looks kind of dirty and over the top. Too overly designed, I guess you could say. And it's funny because this evolution, what is called lapping dust, lapping being French for rabbit, and the fact that it's lapping in dust. I like it because it's kind of a mix of both, but not to the extent as in it's a dirty rabbit, and it is not sexualized, but it's inspired by, it's got a human proportion, I guess you could say, right? I'm not trying to implicate anything naughty like that, oh my. I was also thinking of gender differences, where like, the females look more inherently female, whilst the males look more masculine. But I feel like I like the balance here, where it looks somewhat more feminine, but you could also imagine it just being a guy. Plus, guys can wear dresses and headbands. Nothing's wrong with that. Plus, I just like the design anyway. And if a Mr. Mime can be a girl, then come on. I also tried to make it more bluer than black, in the sense of she tries to be clean, unlike the Charbons, what are all just pitch black. She is actually trying to be clean and keep herself, a bright, pristine, like a diamond, I guess you could say. And you can imagine that if she was clean, she would be like a queen sort of thing, right? But no, she's trapped in her rags, her dusty old rags. But yeah, so that's the Charbon line. We've got the dusty old rapscallion and Lapindust, the nagging old mother who's trying to keep her son out of trouble, but realistically it's not going to work, is it? So they're both lines I've got to show today. I hope you like them. I hope you like the mining aesthetic I tried to do, and next time we're going to go into the rodent Rubine, and he's got quite a cute little gimmick that I'm excited to share with you. It's not that impressive per se, but I hope you like it regardless. Either way, let me know which one's your favourite of this episode. Which one would you keep? Which one would you abandon? If you saw this in a cave, what would you do? Would you catch it, find it, do whatever? I don't know. No idea what to say. Just let me know how you think of them, and I'm sure we'll be golden. And if you've got any other ideas for Fakemon or improvements, please let me know. Oh, and before we end the episode, I've got one more super important thing. Check this out. This is some amazing fan art made by a really good friend of mine. She made Cyrech as a human. Look at that! How cool is that? I just wanted to show it off, and also I guess say if you do any fan art or friend art, I'd say, without, that sounds a little pretentious though, doesn't it? If you want to draw any of these, and feel free to let me know and I'll share them off, because look how awesome that is. And I think it'd be cool to do more and share more with the people who watch this as well. It'd be nice to do some connections and stuff like that. But either way, I don't want to specifically name drop, but you know who you are, and I love you so very much. Thank you. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, or if you're off to bed, have the sweetest, and I do mean sweetest of dreams. And I'll see you all in a bit. Toodaloo.